G'day friends, welcome to today's YouTube video. My name is James. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I'm laughing because I just pressed stop and record again. I went on a 20-minute rant about Patreon refunds that I decided, you know what, that's too much. I think I was being very condescending and patronizing. Now all of that is out of the way. I can be a nice business owner who has some information to deliver. I think I was really upset about it and it got the better of me. So delete all of that. I'm just going to let you know, anyone who's a part of Playtest Patreon 3 but doesn't actually know they're a part of it, so to anyone who was a part of the second Patreon I did, who was automatically re-enrolled but still doesn't know and needs to request a refund, please do that immediately. Immediately after March, there is nothing I can do. There is a 90-day 90-day refund window on Patreon. Your 90 days will be up by the time we've finished Playtest Patreon 3. So please contact me on Patreon. I always say, like, wherever the money is spent, that's where you should contact me. So if you have an Etsy problem, contact me on Etsy. If you have a Patreon problem, contact me on Patreon. Teachable through Teachable, just so I can keep all the information in one place. And then, yes, please get your refunds done, and please get them done early in March if you need them. I know there are still about 20 or 30 people who don't even realize they're being charged every month. And at this point, it is really it's cutting down to the wire of what I can do to help you out for that, because the Patreon window is 90 days. And I like to keep all of those transactions where they happen. So I know there is an option for me to personally refund people, but I just don't feel comfortable requesting bank information. So I'm going to say that's probably not going to happen. So please just do it on Patreon. I've tried everything to contact these people who are still there. I've tried the messaging, I've tried the emails, I've tried videos and posts and everything. So this is my last attempt to contact you. I know you're probably not watching this video, but hopefully your friends are watching and can just let you know. Please address that immediately, if not before. Thank you so much. That's all I had to say on that. Goodness, if you could have seen the last video. It just stresses me out because there's a lot of other information, a lot of other context that goes into the how money is processed on Patreon. That basically means that I have not been able to access anything that I've really earned on Patreon because I've had to keep it there to be able to refund people. And it's stressing me out. It's not like I'm gonna be homeless or anything, it's fine. But it just stresses me out because I like to have control over everything like that. I'm a control freak. And yeah, it's just one of those things in business I can't control. I've got to be more flexible. Remember I was doing flexibility years ago? I did become flexible, and then I think I got a bit more rigid again. Got to address it. All right, Christmas journal. That's what we're watching today. If this video is going really slow, it means I've had a really lovely time chatting with you, and I've really taken my time. I've got lots of topics, so I'm assuming it will be nice and watchable for you today. Grab a coffee, grab a drink, grab a journal, do anything. Sit down in bed and fall asleep to it. I just want to catch you up on life, what's going on, what I'm loving, what I'm experiencing. And this is the type of voiceover that I really just enjoy luxuriating in. I love to just hijack the voiceover and talk about whatever I want. But I should start with what's on the screen, right? Christmas journal, which I think now at this point is in Australia, like November, December, January, February, Valentine's Day journal. It's everything. It's kind of funny because, you know, I have this mindset that kind of clicks over when I think about content, and content sounds like a dirty word for people who create content, but you know, just calling it what it is, right? What you're watching right now, YouTube content. I created this content for you to watch. I love when people watch it. I love when people engage with it. It's something I love to share. It's like doing show and tell at school, but like every week, and I get to share for as long as I want. I love show and tell at school. Obviously, that's why I'm on YouTube, right? But, you know, I love to create it. I love to do whatever I want with it. Like, I love to be able to be the director of it. Sometimes I love to put like hours and hours and hours into the editing. And then other times I just love to get it all out there and show you what I'm up to because I'm really excited. It just all depends. And I'm so lucky because I get to have free reign over how that happens. But in my head, there is always this element of, does it work for content that kind of clicks over when I'm doing something that is essentially a hobby that I do personally. Like journaling is something I did before I filmed it. It's, you know, arts and crafts, like I've always done those. But now that I do that and I create content out of it, there is always this little part of your brain that kind of clicks over. And I have a really specific example that I like to share with people. And it's something that is so funny, but when I go to paint or draw, when I get the colors out, I avoid using fluorescents or metallics because I know that I'm going to have to scan it. Excuse me, my allergies are coming in. I know that I'm going to have to scan it, and I don't want to use a color that the scanner won't pick up, or a finish like metallic or iridescence that the scanner won't pick up, because the sensors are really limited with what they can get. It's just not going to work. I know what it's like to put it in Photoshop. I know what it's like to bring the colors back. It just doesn't work the same way. So I used to avoid using colors like that. And then after a couple of years, I was like, well, now I'm literally not using supplies I spent money on because they're just not going to scan well, and they may need to be turned into a collage sheet element at some point. I was thinking about the content aspect. That is not a terrible thing when you really need to consider it, but there are so many times where I don't need to consider it because people know that I'm just drawing a picture and it's fine. Like, it, even if I did have to use it in Collage Club for some reason, like, I can go and fix it. It's not the end of the world. But for the longest time, I would make decisions based on that. Sorry, my nose is getting really itchy all of a sudden. I would make all these kinds of decisions that were just based on the idea that it might get in the way of content, or it might be confusing content, or it might be difficult content. And so I thought I had addressed that, but even with this Christmas journal, I noticed it kind of popping back up in again. When I started were specifically related to Christmas, I was like, well, I shouldn't do that. And I'm thinking, why shouldn't I do that? Like, why can't I use this to put Australia in there? Because technically that was Christmas. So then I was justifying it to myself. Well, it was Christmas in Australia, so it can go in here. And then when it got to January and it wasn't finished, I thought, do I just get all the Christmas junk I can find, put it in here and finish it so it's a Christmas journal? Because I told everyone it's my Christmas journal. It's the one that I'm using for Christmas. It makes sense. It has to be fully finished by the end of Christmas. That makes sense. That is sensible, logical content. People can appreciate that you started showing them a Christmas journal, then you finished showing them a Christmas journal. That's what they expect. That's nice. It's good for people's brains. However, it's just not realistic. It's not what I do. It's not what I do when the cameras are off. I don't care if it is Christmas and Valentine's Day. Like, to me, that doesn't matter. So I just decided, well, it's not finished. It's January. I'm just going to keep going with it. And then so in my head, I was having this battle thinking like, well, it's a Christmas and a January journal. Like, it's a Christmas season journal. Or like, I'm trying to tell myself, how would this make sense? What's the spin that I need to justify why I keep doing this? And it is a crazy place to be in your brain when it starts thinking all like that, because you have this like snap to moment where you realize it's a journal made from paper bags and no one cares if you kept using it in January. So what? Like, if someone did, it would be like one or two people saying, I thought it was just a Christmas journal. And like, is that the end of the world? No. Well, yes, it was a Christmas journal, but I didn't finish it, so I kept using it. Like, how hard is it to explain that? But in my head, I was having this full-on crisis. So anyway, I've kept using it. It's February. I'm still using it. And you know why? Because I love it. Like, I am just loving the experience in it. I don't think I want it to end. I think I want to make another one. There are times where the only reason I don't want to do it is because, again, content comes up, but it's like that little parameter that's in my brain that says, hey, that's not going to work, because remember how hard it was to film that video in there because it doesn't fit on the screen. Like, it doesn't fit in your camera setup. So you don't want to use that book. And I think, yeah, I get it. But at the same time, like, do people really care if like the tiniest corner of the book is not on the frame? Like, wouldn't they rather just see it happen anyway? Like, you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure the corners of the book are out of frame. Are you hating that? Like, do you wish you had never seen this video because I couldn't fit the whole thing on the desk? Like, in the view? I don't know. There's just random things that you think about all the time, and it always feels like these constraints that you have to consider, because at some point something is going to become content and someone is going to expect something, and most of the time it's just you, right? It's all happening in your head. So that someone, the proverbial audience, is actually just you judging it up against your own standards. And then you have to think, well, have I ever been mad because I watched someone do a video and their journal wasn't perfectly in line on the screen? No, I haven't. I've watched videos where I could see the tripod legs in the screen, and I've still watched them from start to finish, literally not even blinking my eyes. Do you know what I mean? Like, the way I consume content is sometimes it gets really disconnected from the way that I create content for people. And that's where I always have to catch myself back up. And it's funny how prevalent those thoughts are, like how much it just comes back into your head, even though you've addressed it a billion times. So yeah, with the Christmas journal, it is just my journal now. Of course, it started in Christmas and it is predominantly Christmas, but it's just going to be everything that it is until it finishes. And you know what? I realized it kind of took the place of a bunch of other journals, which was another thing that the content bug was biting at my ear for, because I was thinking, in this journal, I've got huge photos, which I love, which I made those photo journals for. I've got junk, garbage, packaging, which I had my garbage journals for. I have drawings and paintings and, you know, artsy craftsy things, which I have all my other watercolor journals for. I had all my writing, like my little memories and everything, which I have my Hobonichi 5-year for. The only thing that isn't in here is planning, which I have my Hobonichi weeks for. So I had realized that essentially this journal was, you know, kind of combining all of the ones that I'm currently loving into one. And I think obviously the large format definitely helped that. And so then I started feeling like, well, what about people who liked the photo journals? I haven't shown them photo journals in months because I haven't used them in months. So do they think that that was a failure now? And should I make content about the photo journals just to say, hey, I still use them? That's also not true. I don't use them right now. I'm using this right now. And I couldn't possibly use a billion journals to do exactly the same thing for everything. I mean, I've tried it before. It doesn't really, there's no point double handling sometimes. So I have to keep fighting that in my head where, you know, I have to keep reminding myself the reason that I created this YouTube channel was to share what I'm loving right now, what I'm doing right now. And it is okay to go through all these seasons where I stop using something and start using something else. Or if I'm using 3 things for the exact same thing, that's also okay. And that it is also not possible for me to keep up with 65 journals all at once. Because again, the seasons of my life kind of ebb and flow. And right now I'm in a much busier season. So I'm actually only really keeping up with a couple. Last year, could I do 6 at once? Yeah, sure. That's what I was doing. But this year I can't. And that is okay too. So I'm just having my therapy session with you guys. But it is really, really funny. It's one of those things I don't think people are so aware. Kind of this thought of content kind of dictates how we think sometimes, because we have run into these issues before that have just kind of redirected our thought process. You know, your brain kind of, there's that someone had described it once, the neural pathways in your brain, where it's like walking down a forest road and there's a track that everyone has taken so many times before that it's just fully worn in, but then someone takes another track and you can kind of see like there's a little bit of the brush has cleared over there, and so another person takes it and then you take it again, and before you know it, that becomes the new pathway that people take. This one overgrows and then people are now going down this pathway. You know, I heard trauma, just for my PTSD, I heard trauma described as kind of instantly forming a new neural pathway. But I think of that sometimes with how I used to do this as a hobby and how I used to do this, you know, in my free time, and I never used to film any of it. And then how I think over time, you know, there's that content neural pathway that has kind of been really reinforced in my brain, where instead of always leaning in directly to however I feel like I want to do it in that moment, there is always a consideration for content, even down to super random. I mean, the colors, yes, for the scanner, but even the size of the paper. I completely changed the size of my journals that I used for Virtual Voyage so that they would fit into the scanner in one scan, so I wouldn't have to double scan a page. It's also efficient. So I don't want to get content, this crazy word mixed up with, efficiency. There are things that make sense. I think that made sense. So there are good things that can come out of having that thought process. But yeah, it definitely does enter the brain in a way that you would never think about it if you weren't actually creating social media content for it. Things, yeah, drawing. How I used to think a lot about how things would fit into a square photo on Instagram before they had, I don't know how long they've had those, the 8x10 crop, the 4x5, that aspect ratio, but I used to think all the time, like, it's not really going to fit into a square. So I would try and draw half of it, or I'd draw it so that it fit into a square. It was super random. I even used to use square paper, so I would just be able to take a photo of the square. Wild thoughts. Anyway, But that's what I'm doing in this video, doing my Christmas journaling. Hope you enjoy it. We're actually doing Valentine's Day. Oh, I'm doing a lot. I'm just putting in all the junk that was around the desk. I'm putting it into this journal. So who knows what I did? I kind of forgot. Patreon, I know we touched on this earlier. This is all the good stuff about Patreon. Basically, we're past the halfway point, which is a bit surreal. And I'm really enjoying all these series. If you don't know, Playtest Patreon this year was very different to the ones we've done before. It's a lot more pared back, a lot more, it's all video at this point. I think it will stay that way. It is also all series based. So each video is not like a standalone video. It's a part of a series that auditioning, for lack of a better term, for something that I might want to bring to YouTube, because on YouTube, I don't really make anything a series unless I know I can do it over many, many months. So like my travel journal series for Paris and London has been going over the past year, and I've really, really loved that. But I also I didn't know if it was maybe because I took a long break or people just weren't really into travel journaling, but I noticed the engagement in that would kind of drop off after a while. And I was really curious to know if bringing series to my YouTube would be something people were interested in. So with Playtest Patreon, we just test all the things I want to do in JLB Creative World. In the multiverse. So I decided to test all these different series and see if there was any good ones I might be able to pick out and place onto YouTube. Now, because I can only do things in alliteration, I tend to match the days with the Wednesdays, which that made sense. But what was the other, Saturday Chatterday, all of those kind of videos, even though they're termed that way, I still intend on doing Friday YouTube videos. So if they were to become a series, I don't know if they'd become like an addition to a Friday video, like if I did a Friday video, but then a Saturday Chatterday videos, I don't know if that's too much, or if I did Wednesdays for a month, whilst also doing Friday videos, I don't really know. Or if I stopped doing Friday uploads and just did a series through a month. So maybe March is all Wednesdays. Again, I don't really know, because I don't know if that's what people are looking for. I don't know if people enjoy the varied content. And with my channel, you never know what you're going to get. Could be a travel journal video, could be me doing a self-portrait in this studio, just like it was last week. Now it can be me using a Christmas journal in February. I really like the idea of being current with whatever I'm doing. So I don't really want to pre-film 6 weeks worth of a series and then just not see you for 6 weeks. But I'm not quite sure. I'm open to things, right? I'm being flexible because the landscape of social media changes all the time. So I want to know if that's something to add. But the things that I've been really thinking about bringing to YouTube, because I feel like they've been pretty good on Patreon, the art book playtimes have been really wonderful, and I've loved seeing people engage with those. I especially loved the I Am Plastic 2 one. That one was really, really fun, and the results from that looked amazing. So thank you for sharing those, because I loved them. The last 5 years, that one is interesting. I actually really love that series, but I don't know if it's too personal to put on YouTube. Again, if you've heard this before, I'll say it again. Patreon is a closed space, but it's not private. It's still, anyone who wants to pay to get in has access to whatever's behind there. So I never think of Patreon as this closed, safe space on the internet. It is still the internet. There's just a paywall between whoever wants to see it and get that information. So I've not been sharing over there as if it's my best friends that will never tell anyone my secrets. That would never be me on the internet. But I have been sharing things that typically I would shy away from going too deep into on the internet, on the wider free internet, like the YouTube internet, because you just assume that people who really, at least when it's behind that paywall, people aren't really going to engage too negatively, because if someone does pay to access it, they're usually really quiet about it. They just go in, they find their information, and they leave, is what I'm assuming. Because I've never really had too much of a problem with people in Patreon being wild. But on YouTube, people can just be wild for no reason, and people you've never even seen before can come into your comment section and just be crazy. But I don't know, I really, really like it. It's a good series. We basically take my Hobonichi 5-year journal, pick a day, and then go through 5 years. So from 2019 all the way to 2023, we talk about that same day, and I read all the passages, and then I just kind of elaborate on, you know, the experiences, who I was at that time, what I was thinking at that time, how I was experiencing the world at that time. And then we kind of just see that evolution happen in the passage. And I just really like it. It's been really thought-provoking. It's been really stimulating. It's been really eye-opening. And again, just very revealing for a lot of the history that I've had here in art journaling, here on social media, in my life, like just really, really interesting. So I really like it. I'm still on the fence about how personal it is and whether that's appropriate to put on YouTube. But I mean, I guess at this point, if I put it on Patreon, is it really that much of a difference? There's just a paywall difference, but it's out there, right? There's some things I could never share just online because it's too much. Sorry, my allergies are coming up. I don't know what to do. It's always something, isn't it? Well, if you were here in real life, this is what I'd be doing anyway. I'd be talking to you with my allergies, so we're just gonna have to deal with it, please. Playtest Pals, that one I like. I love a good long form tutorial because I need time to be able to explain things. And that is literally the one thing I never really get whenever I'm teaching online, is I just don't ever take tons of time to teach something. I do a really thorough job of trying to condense lessons and know that it will work out by the end, but still, I just feel like I'm always left short on time. So this has been good to kind of draw it out. And then Wednesdays, which, I mean, I love Wednesday Addams, so I love exploring that. And that one's more about rendering styles rather than actually illustration technique or kind of character building or anything. That one's more about like finishing and, you know, coloring or using your pencils, or like just, and it's fun, it's real time. I love a good real time chat too, because I can just talk to you about things that are happening in that moment. But those are the things that I'm really enjoying about Playtest Patreon. I like all of it, really. Saturday Chat Day is really fun too, but I mean, they've all been good. These ones, though, I'm thinking about how I could transition them to YouTube once the experience is over. I mean, we're still in March, so we could be voting some of these off the island in March and getting new series, who knows? We're doing Fashion Fridays as well. That one's interesting. It's actually, that one scares me a lot because I know how long it took me to get really happy with how I drew fashion figures, and I still think that one's moving a little too quickly for me. But anyway, the cats. I've just put cats, terrible. Ironically, they're sleeping foot to foot just over here. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. They've been fighting all morning, and now that I want to talk about them, they're being curious. And by terrible, I just mean like their behavior. I mean, they've always kind of been misbehaved cats. They're overweight. What else is new? Oliver has been different since we went to Australia. I think Steve being gone for 12 days, 10 days, however long he was gone for, because he did not catch that flight, as we know. I think Oliver has been really, really anxious since we got back that Steve is going to go away again. Oliver's like trauma bonded to Steve. I have no idea how that happened, but he just cannot leave him alone. So he kind of gets upset when Steve goes to work, but when he comes home, it's Steve's shadow. Like, will not leave his side. And he's been doing this new thing where if you sit on the couch, he just walks straight up to you and headbutts you, and just like is just headbutting constantly all over our faces. And it's cute, but at some point I'm like, is he stressed? Like, just calm down. We're here. We're at home. Like, it's fine. But yeah, he hates when we leave. Also, and he was kind of like that when Steve went back to work after the pandemic, because he got really used to Steve being home. So I get it. I get why he's probably upset, but there's not much I can do. Like, Steve's gonna go to work. And speaking of, Bianca has been acting up because I've been going to work. So I've been leaving the house more often to go to Disneyland and dance, and she's been like literally going crazy about it. She's been way more affectionate with me, but she's also been doing some really naughty things that she shouldn't be doing, and it has been a little stressful around here with the cats. So we'll have to keep an eye on them, even though they're being so good right now. Oh, goodness. They run this household. There's nothing we can do about it. Dancing. See, this is one of those topics where I would talk about it in Playtest Patreon and just be free to cry about it, because apparently I did last time I talked about it. I'm going to have a little sip of this. This mocha. I have been dancing at... Oh, goodness. Can I just say, like, I know I complain about it a lot, but I hate the allergies. Like, I really do. And everyone's giving me so much advice on what I should do. It's just really not going to work. I think at this point I have a deviated septum. I think I'm also a hypochondriac. I've been dancing at Disneyland. We opened the D100, the Disney 100 celebration on January 27th, I think. And we opened with a cavalcade, which is kind of like a small parade. And there are dancers in it, and there's lots of, famous characters from the park. And we have all the fabulous Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck and everyone in it up on the float. And it is so, so fun. Like, so fun. I've been doing 5 and 6 day weeks since we opened, but it was always destined to be a really I really don't know what I can say really, so let's just not. But I basically things might be ending very soon at some point, let's just say it that. And all I have to say about that is I am just devastated because I love it so much. I have been dealing with, I think I dealt with this really in Christmas, because as Christmas was coming to a close, doing the parade at Christmas, I was wondering, like, what's next? Like, what do you do? It's just a seasonal thing. And then luckily this was an opportunity that came up and I could accept that and do that. And I really didn't know what it was going to be. And then it was just so lucky that I happened to love it and I love doing it and I really, really enjoy it. Such a wonderful, like, start to my day that I go in there and I get ready and I have such a great time socializing. We do our cavalcade and then I come home, I do my work. Like, it's such a great experience and it's really fit into my life really well. I mean, I've been busy and like I've had no time, but it's been in the best way. Like, if I want to be tired for anything and have no time for anything, I want it to be this. But I've been sad because I've been thinking, like, well, what's next? What's after that? And, when I used to be a dancer and I did contracts, the contracts were like 9 months at a time. And I would know, like, into the contract what I would be doing next because I'd get offered it or I'd apply for something like halfway through. Even sometimes 2 months into the contract, I'd get another contract offer. So I would never really worry about what was next because I kind of always knew that, like, oh, I'm on this ship now, I'll be going to that ship next year. Like that, it was just all kind of set out long in advance. But these seasonal gigs, I mean, they're so short. Like you're thinking, what do I do next? And it's like 12 weeks away. And I just don't know. I've never done it like that before. And there's a huge part of me that is so worried. I know it's not true, but I mean, just purely like for obvious reasons, I just worried that, like, oh no, once it's over, do I have to wait another 7 years? Like, is that, because I don't think I could do that again. Like, I would just have to give up on dance altogether if that was it. Like, I'd have to, take a period of grieving and then just let it go. I mean, I don't think I ever could, but it's been a really emotional and like sensitive week for me about that because it's especially sad that I love it so much. You know what I mean? Like, if I could find something to hate about it, even the fact that I'm so busy and I'm tired and I don't really have time for anything, like, I don't even hate that. So it's really hard to think that it will be coming to a close at some point and I don't really know what I'm going to do next, but I am auditioning for things. I just got a new headshot taken, so I'll be auditioning for things. And so I'm sure there'll be something else, right? And like, I have to learn to trust again that whatever is coming, and I don't really need to be worried about what it is. I can just, be patient and wait for that. But it's just a little difficult. My heart is a little tender about that fact. But I love it. I love it so much. Sweetheart's Night. Speaking of Disneyland, yeah, Steve and I went to Sweetheart's Night. He got some complimentary tickets, which was great because I said last time I wouldn't pay to go back to it. And we didn't. But I was, fun fact, really craving spaghetti that day. And then we went there and they were doing a Lady and the Tramp spaghetti thing at I don't know if it's called the Crystal Palace. I really have no idea what it's called. But yeah, hilarious because I really wanted it. So we signed up for that. Steve and I did our Lady and the Tramp pasta. It was so plain. Like, it was really not that good, but that was exactly what I was craving that day. Just some like plain spaghetti bolognese. It's so wild to me, like how fate worked that out. We went there, it was kind of like what I expected from last Sweetheart's Night. It's just a bunch of photo ops, really. There's not a ton of entertainment. I really don't know what's going on with those after dark events. The ones I've been to, the Christmas one, the Merriest Nights, which I don't think they did last year. No, they didn't. The Merriest Night ones, I liked that one. That one was fun because it was already all decorated for Christmas and they had the Muppets, which was like a really special thing. And I love Miss Piggy. But this time they did a little royal ball moment where the prince and princesses came out and danced. There was a live band and that I thought was really, really cute. Especially like, I mean, when do you get a chance to dance with, a prince or a princess and in this little like social setting? I think it lasted for about 20 minutes as well. It was kind of long. But yeah, it was really, really cute. The rest of it, big photo ops and lots of opportunity to buy food. I guess if you wanted to ride the rides, it's kind of easier to ride them at night too, but with not, not huge crowds. But our fireworks was cancelled because of wind, which is not Disney's fault, but still it's like, oh, okay, well, you didn't get to see that. And then I think Mickey's goodness, I can't say that. Mickey's Runaway Railway was not operating, and Rise of the Resistance wasn't operating. So if you're going to have two big ticket attractions not running, I don't really get that. Like, why wouldn't it be a part of the experience? You're going to Disneyland, all the other rides are running, the ones that aren't in refurbishment, which my other favorite is, not that those are my favorite, but the ones I would go to Disneyland for, I want to go on Indiana Jones, and currently that's down for refurbishment. So I think maybe it just wasn't open. In any case, again, glad we didn't pay for it because I would have been a little upset. Doesn't seem like it's worth it to me. But again, I go in there for entertainment, and there just wasn't a ton of that. So I don't know. Hopefully they get their act together and put more entertainment on for these After Dark events. It's really hard. I mean, I think a lot of post-pandemic, theme park offerings have been much more limited. And I think, it's really hard because there's a corporation behind the whole thing. Like, even though it's very, like, you think about Disney, you think about the creativity of like the storytelling and the entertainment factor. I mean, it is an entertainment media company, so you would think entertainment would be at the forefront of what the offerings are. But at the same time, do we really need to bring back everything if the parks are still full and there's less entertainment? Why do we have to put more entertainment on, right? When you're really thinking of the fact that there's a corporation cutting costs, looking at the bottom line, maximizing profits for shareholders, it really doesn't take a genius to figure out that, like, well, if the parks are full, they're just not going to put them back on. Like, there's no need for them to do it because they don't need to draw people back in. The people will just come even if there's hardly anything on. I think I saw that right at the beginning when they offered that a taste of Disney, and those tickets sold out so quickly, and there was literally no rides. There was a few characters that were like 1,000 feet away on balconies and stuff, and you were just going in there to basically do like a food tasting, and we paid almost park prices just to go in there and do that, just to have a taste of Disney again. So I think it's interesting. I've been reading on blogs or forums about Tokyo Disney Resort because I want to go back to Japan. I want to go and have another holiday there, but I'm not going at this point because they haven't brought back a lot of the entertainment that they had before. And to be fair, like, a lot of what I love about Tokyo Disney Resort, even though they're beautiful parks, is the entertainment. There was always an abundance of entertainment. You could barely fit everything in, and everything was so incredible. But I know they really cut it back, and it doesn't seem like a lot of it's coming back. So are they just relying on the fact that because the parks are full, they don't have to? I mean, I think that's a really sad thought. I don't want to go into this conversation too, but sometimes I just wonder, like, you try to maximize all these profits and you're getting as much as you can out of the bottom line. Can there ever be enough? Like, can you ever say, oh, like, this is our goal. If we get to $2 billion profit, that's good for us. Like, we're happy with that. We don't need to push beyond that. We can distribute our funds to make everything work within that. If we want to push beyond that, we'll invest more into this so that we can, you know what I mean? Like, I think there needs to be an enough point, because you will always be able to trim the fat from somewhere else. You will always be able to cut it out. And I really loathe seeing reports that boast about record profits when I know so much has been cut. And then I think, well, it's not record profits because people are investing more. It's record profits because you've been taking away so much and still been getting, the attendance numbers and blah, blah. I really don't want to go into it. All that politics of, business is just really sad. But for all of that, I just wonder, like, I remember the days when I used to go into these parks and there was just so much entertainment. You just couldn't look left or right without being hit by some other offering. And it just seems like it's really lacking. And I would love, as an entertainer, I'm selfish, right? I want more entertainment. And it's really hard because, I don't know, we're also in a different world too. Like, social media didn't exist so much when I was experiencing Disney as a young adult. And so to see all this influencer culture as well, it's really interesting to see people, there's a lot of influencers that are incentivized to, kind of like glorify everything that's going on, which I get as well. Like you should be happy. Like even if it's a small offering, I'm really happy for anything really. You kind of have to be happy for anything at this point, but I think at the same time, like maybe some people in corporate are just looking at it and be like, oh, you look, everyone's happy. They're making their TikToks, they're making their Instagrams. Look, everyone's loving it. We're doing the right thing. And I think, yeah, I mean, people do want to love it, but surely people know that, like, surely those corporate people know that it's lacking. Or do they not? Maybe they think it's all going well because it's presented so well on social media. I have no idea. Weird thoughts, but this is something I could probably leave for another conversation for never. Those are just my thoughts on it. Sweethearts Night, more entertainment, please. Any of those after dark events. You know, when we went to Paris Pride at Disneyland. So I don't think it's a whole Disney problem, because when we went to Paris Pride, we actually did the parks during the day as well, and there was an abundance of entertainment at Disneyland Paris. That was what I was used to. That was incredible. And then we went to Paris Pride, like Mika was performing. Like, that's insane to me that you could get this massive, like, recording artist to be in a Disneyland park at 2:00 in the morning just singing to people. So I know that it can be done. I think that's the thing too, that my brain kind of just is trying to justify how, if it can be done, why is it not being done, and what are all the reasons why it might not be being done. And I always said to Steve, like, you know, it's sad, but if I was a company and I really wanted to, you know, kind of cost cut, or if I wanted to, you know, boost the bottom line of my business, if I was a corporation or a company, after the pandemic, I would stretch out the pandemic being the reason for whatever. Sorry, my stomach's rumbling. I would stretch out the pandemic being the reason why things aren't happening for as long as I possibly could, right? Because people would accept that, oh yeah, for sure, the pandemic did that. The pandemic did that. But, you know, at the same time, I got to wonder how Disneyland Paris is doing all of that. But I don't know. I really don't know. I have no idea. I got to stop talking about it because I could get myself in trouble if I keep talking about it. Not that I could. None of these are secrets. They're just opinions. But yeah, let's go on to my next sheet. About to get back into AJTM. Oh yes, Art Journaling the Magic. I guest teach at Art Journaling the Magic, and I'll be back at Wizarding Artist Society, I think, next week. And there's a spring retreat coming up in March, I believe. So I'm planning on being there, and I'm excited to get back into that. It's been months since I've done anything with Art Journaling the Magic. Excuse me. Steve's photography, I've been helping out a lot. That has been keeping me busy. He's got a lot of stuff coming up, and I mean, I don't really do a ton. Oh, I mean, I do some work, but I don't like. It's not like a full-time job for me. I usually just rock up with Steve and just kind of fuss about. Sometimes I'll help with the styling. Sometimes I'll help with the lighting, or I help with the posing a lot. I help kind of direct how that's going. But yeah, for the rest of it, Steve, I still haven't even bothered to learn how to turn the lights on or how to set up some of the lights. So Steve does all of that, but I help a lot with it. So it feels like a half job for me sometimes, but he's getting busy with that. So I'll be even busier doing some of that coming up. And then, oh, I wanted to tell you about some supplies that I've been loving before I go. I just bought a new Designs by Rachel Beth watercolor palette. I haven't received it yet. I literally bought it this morning. It's called Cheek to Cheek. The colors look divine. I'm really excited to get that. I love Designs by Rachel Beth watercolor on Etsy. And then Scotch Advanced Tape Runner. This has been a lifesaver for me. Oh, this one's finished. I need to get a new refill for it. I'll do that after this video. I have to shout that out because that has been keeping my life together. I hate glue at this point, so that really gets me going, and it's just so huge. Like, it feels like one of those old price guns. You know those price guns you would use at a store? I loved those. When after Christmas, we would go up to my Uncle Jeff's bookshop. He doesn't have them anymore, but we would go to his bookshop and we would, I think it was like liquidation or whatever. No, that's the wrong word for it. Who knows? On Boxing Day, we would go and unpack all these books and display them and kind of work everything out. But my brother got to do the price gunning, and I really wanted to do it, so I would like fight to be able to do the price gunning, which is my favorite thing. And then, oh, and I loved using the old register when it would go sorry, random story. Scotch Advanced Tape Runner. Collage Club, yes. This is not a product I bought, but I wanted to explain to people why they sometimes see these. These are big folders. These are my Collage Club folders, and I've actually divided them into two lots. They're not chronological. These are like kind of new ones or ones that I haven't used a lot of. You can see that. They're like mostly full sheets. I print them on sticker paper and then I put them through my silhouette portrait. So they've essentially become massive sticker sheets. And that's how I use so much of my collage ephemera from Collage Club. But this one is mostly finished pages, or like pages that don't have a ton left. So they could be used up pretty easily. See, they're like missing a whole bunch. Like there's only a few left on this page. There's a few left over here. There's literally like 3 left on this page. Sorry, I don't know if you can see. There you go. So I know to pick up this one if I really just feel like I don't need any specific ephemera. I just want to kind of, you know, help finish out some of those pages. But I use them all the time for that. I love, love, love using those. Especially making them big sticker sheets has been a game changer for me. I've been doing it for years now and it's been wonderful. I use a Silhouette Portrait 3 cutting thing, if you need to know. Tombow markers, love these. They're a great marker in general, but because I use a lot of thinner paper, especially for my Hobonichi 5-year, I need a water-based marker because alcohol will bleed through. And they're really nice. The color lays down really pretty. The colors are really pretty and they don't bleed through. It just works. Love a Tombow marker. Muji gel pens. I don't know if you have a Muji where you live, but the gel pens are really great. I have a pot of colored gel pens here. I have a bunch just flying around everywhere, but these ones kind of stay where they need to stay. Here you go. Sorry. I don't know what the crop is on this video yet. But I have them right next to my desk and I use those for changing up the colors that I use for my 5-year journal. Every time I go and write in there, I always try to use different colors. So I have that pot ready with me at all times. And the Holbein Artist Colored Pencils. Someone asked me about these being better than Prismacolor. I haven't really used Prismacolor. This is my Del D kind of portable pencil case pouch. I just love these. I think they're gorgeous. The Holbein Artist Colored Pencils. I bought a few of mine open stock in Japan, and then I bought a whole bunch of pastel. I bought a pastel set, and I think someone linked to Blick as having them in the States anyway. I don't know if you can buy them everywhere, but in the States, I think you can get them from Blick. But they are just gorgeous, soft, buttery, beautiful colors, like unreal color selection. And they layer over each other really, really well. Perfect for craft paper too. Really, really beautiful. That's everything. I'm just looking at the time. I've been talking for so long. I've got to go. I've got other work I've got to do today. But I will see you around if I'm seeing you on Playtest Patreon. Don't forget to join. Hopefully at this point, maybe you can hold out till March because you will get charged again at the start of the month. So it's probably better to join at March. I mean, we're halfway through February. I don't know. You do you. But if you want to join, do that because at the end of March, anyone who is subscribed will be given access to the full set of content from that, as I'll put it over on Teachable. So you'll be able to have access to that on Teachable after Patreon is closed. If you need the refund, please get in touch with me as soon as possible, early March, because I won't be able to really help you out after that. And then, yeah, everything else. My Etsy store has been reopened. Go have a look over there. There's nothing really new over there, but there are still some products over there that are nice to have a look at. And that's it for me. I'll have a great day. Hope you do too. Goodbye.